Hi there, I'm Renee. Tonight I'm going to give you a garden tour. We could call this the early spring, end of early spring, coming into mid-spring tour. And if you want to have more context for my early, mid, late spring designations, you can watch the video previous to this one, which is all about early spring happenings. And I talk there about how in Nova Scotia, we just have a long spring. Where we are at right now is, I feel like early spring is wrapping up and we're in mid-spring, early mid-spring. And there's a lot going on with gardening. And that's what I want to give you a tour of tonight. I have a shared vegetable. There's also some fruits and there'll be flowers. It's a large garden. I'm going to show you it. I have a shared garden space with my parents. Or I should say my husband and I have a shared garden space with my parents, though it's largely going to be my mom and myself who do the planting and the weeding and the harvesting. So I'm going to show you that. And I also have a perennial bed next to my house. Perennial bed has been established by my parents, by my mom, in the years of living in this house, which is 14 years that my parents have been living here. And so I am building off of the base and the foundation that they already established, which is huge. Saves me so much work and effort, and they've built up the soil, which is really important where I live here in Nova Scotia. So I am benefiting from the work, time, resources, energy, effort, all these things that my parents have already put into the gardens. And then I'm going to build on it and expand and bring some of my own vision and ideas to life. And what's really amazing is that in terms of the execution of these ideas, I have my parents to help me. And I don't need a lot of help executing ideas in like my perennial bed, but certainly in the vegetable garden or the kitchen garden. I'm not entirely sure what to call it because it's certainly more than vegetables. You'll see that shortly. But in that garden, I have their help, which is significant. And I have help with the infrastructure building. I'm going to show you the raspberry trellis that my dad and I built. It's just really amazing to have this shared resource, shared project, gardening together with my parents and pooling our efforts, resources, energy efforts to make something greater than what we could make on our own. Certainly it is greater than what I could do on my own. And so I'm really grateful for what I have going on here. And I'm going to take you on a tour tonight. It's tonight when I'm filming. And the sun is setting behind me here in the west. So I'm going to take you on a tour of where everything is at right now with the gardens. It will be interesting to revisit the gardens with you later in this growing season. I'm not sure if I'll do another video quite like this one where I do a whole tour through the gardens or just show you bits and pieces. I really don't know how that will look, but for tonight, I'm going to give you a comprehensive tour of what's happening in the gardens. Everything from my seed planting that's going on, seed starting indoors, to what's happening in the perennial beds and some ideas I have for there, and then what's happening in the vegetable / kitchen garden, shared garden space with my parents. So let's go check that out. I'm going to start this garden tour for you indoors because I am starting seeds this year. At various points in the past, I have done small amounts of seed starting, like maybe one packet of seeds that I did for funsies or that I was doing with the kids as part of their homeschooling or just, gardening enjoyment. My seed starting indoors has been very limited. This year it is not very extensive, but it's more than what I've done in the past. And it's kind of like dipping my toe into the world of seed starting and learning what I need to do it and to do it well and to get my seeds to germinate and all that. But I'm using very simple supplies and tools. I don't have grow lights. I'm just using these windows here, but I can't control the temperature maybe the way that I really should. you know, I'm just saying basically this is a simple setup that I have going here, but my goals for the future years are to do more intense seed starting indoors. At least that's what I have in mind now. You know, I might try it and be like, yeah, this isn't for me, but I have a suspicion I will pursue it more than what I have in the past, especially with flowers. I love flowers, and getting them started indoors just allows me to have so many more of them, right? It's just a cheaper way, certainly, to get flowers into the garden. Okay, so let me just show you what I've got going on here. Here are my seeds indoors right now. I actually have, you can see outdoors, I also have some things out there. I'll take you there shortly. Okay, these plants here are what I was starting in the Spring Happenings video, or the early Spring Happenings video that I previously posted to YouTube. These are zinnias, and I up-potted them today, which means I took them from smaller containers and gave them more space. They will probably need to be up-potted again. I wanted to show you this container, and this little seedling here especially. See those little green ones? This is my inula. So this is pretty amazing, because if you watched that other video of mine, I cold stratified these seeds by putting them in the freezer, which is not a highly recommended practice. I don't know that there's recommendations like against it or warnings against it, but cold stratifying, generally you use the fridge. But this one was successful, and I'm so happy. I just have to show you that because that was a bit of an unknown from my seed starting. These are the ones that I am still waiting on to germinate. These are all flowers, milkweed, and some various other things here. These are all marigolds that were old seed. I thought, well, let's just give them a try. These aren't cold stratified. These ones were cold stratified, and they're not germinating yet. And these ones I just planted today, and these are all sunflowers of different types, different varieties. So I keep things under plastic until they have germinated, because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. Honestly, I'm still learning. There's so much that I don't know. So these are under plastic to, I think, for the moisture is what the idea is mostly. This is what is indoors right now for gardening. And my dining room table is kind of the place where a lot of gardening action happens. The dining room table is definitely part of the gardening process and is in various stages of mess and disarray and dirtiness, and then it gets cleaned up and tidied, and then I get things out again. Anyways, here is my garden map. We'll be going out there shortly. And then I have some of my supplies over here. None of this feels especially dialed in yet. I'm still working out systems, as it's just my first time doing this. So, okay, that is what's happening indoors for gardening. It's basically happening here. And now let's head outdoors. So I was showing you the marigolds inside. This is pretty funny. Marigolds were on sale this week at one of the nurseries that I regularly visit, and they were a really good price. And my mom likes putting marigolds in pots. I'm going to be putting marigolds in the large garden, and it was just a great deal to get them, so I got them. But it's way too early to be putting them out, and so I will now be babying these marigolds for the next month at least. In, out, in, out. And it's kind of getting chilly tonight, so I'm going to take them in soon. And I see that these ones need to be dead-headed. So that's why there's marigolds, and honestly, to have this burst of color out here and even inside is a nice treat this time of year. And here are the other seedlings that I haven't got around to up-potting yet. These are all zinnias. Actually, these are hollyhocks and the rest are zinnias, and you can see they're starting to get crowded in my tofu containers. That's what I seeded things in. Tofu, reused tofu, and these are mushrooms, which are a bit deeper. This mushroom container is a bit deeper. I will be putting those into bigger pots, and I'll probably still have to up pot them one more time. I'm very excited about these zinnias. I love zinnias. Here is the perennial bed. So I have a lot of vision for this space. I will be using the plants that are in here, but some of them I'm going to move out of here entirely. For example, the yarrow. There's quite a bit of yarrow and it's getting weedy, as yarrow certain varieties do. I just want to take it out of here entirely. My overall vision for this space is to build a perennial bed that has gradations in height. So I want to have lower height plants at the edges, all around the edges, and then have the height of the plants build to the middle. And that middle spot is actually where the yarrow is right now. Let's get closer, I'll show you. You know what I'm talking about. Here is the yarrow, okay? That spot is my middle, and I already have some very tall plants in here that I'm going to move. For example, this daylily here. It's very tall, and I don't want such a tall plant closer to the edge, so I'm going to be moving it to the middle. That is the kind of changes I will be making in this bed. So moving things around, as well as adding other plants that I really love and enjoy. And the other thing I'm learning is how to manage deer and other critters that eat things. So I used to live in the city and I didn't have to contend with those things, but this was eaten down by, I think, deer, I don't know, rabbits, porcupines, I don't know exactly, but I got a spray that's non-toxic, but it's like this smelly spray that deters animals. It's called Bobex, and I've sprayed it on things to deter animals from this bed, because as you can see, this bed does not have a fence. There's nothing here to stop animals from coming in and munching. The other thing I am dealing with at this time of year, I'm trying to catch bugs as they come. So I get these little red beetles on these. I think these are also a kind of lily. So we've got the daylilies, but the other kind of lily, I think that's what these are. And there's these little red beetles that eat them, and I'm trying to catch them and kill them. So that's what's going on with this. I absolutely love having such a large perennial bed, but it's already feeling too small. It's like, it just seems to be never enough garden space. So my vision for this area, first of all, I'm not really into shrubs. They're nice for the structure, I guess, during the non-flowering season, but I just really like flowers. So I will be taking out these woody shrubs. And then the other things that will be coming out of here are more of my medicinal herbs. There are some medicinal herbs in here. I have a bunch of lemon balm, and you know, this container helps keep it contained, but then there's lemon balm throughout other places here. That needs to come out. My vision for medicinal herbs, the things that I make certain herbal remedies out of, but also tea. So not culinary herbs, which I would distinguish as things that I cook with. So, you know, thyme, mint, dill, basil, rosemary, those things I think of as culinary herbs. And then medicinal herbs would be lemon balm, yarrow, the inula that I have seeding inside. I also will be doing holy basil. So I have some things that can come to mind, but there's a lot of other ones that I've just missed in the recollection on video. Anyways, I consider those, or I categorize those as my medicinal herbs, and I don't really want them in this perennial bed, just for kind of organizational purposes. And also sometimes those plants, they have more of a spreading habit, and I want them to be able to do that and just kind of take over a space, but that's not in my perennial bed. So my plan for that is for the area behind me here. I've got something started out here, so I have to build it up, because obviously you can see there is no beds here to work with. So I have something started here already. This is going to be common milkweed, and I planted it last fall so that it would go through the natural process of overwintering, which the seed likes to do. Alternately, you can cold stratify, which is what I've done indoors with the milkweed. In either case, I have not yet seen any germination, so I'm still waiting to see that. But my idea here is that I will extend this bed that I've started into a larger circular or kidney shape, or just some kind of rounded edged bed, or multiple beds that I will do medicinal herbs in, and other things that I just don't want taking over my perennial bed. So that is the vision for this part. And so this is beds to be built. We could call it things I want to build, and that's what I would like to build here. I also have a vision for this front yard to put in raised beds when I want to extend my growing capacity in that garden, which is where I'm going to take you next. This area would be fabulous for raised beds because it gets the most sun on the whole property. This is southern exposure, and it doesn't have the shading that those trees give at the end of the day to that garden. And so I think this would be a great garden space. So this is my the visionary part of the video, the what I imagine for the future. It'll be interesting and fun to look back on this and see how things have changed as I garden here. I'm dressed a little warmer. It is a chilly evening. Let's go take a look at the shared garden with my parents. First of all, what you'll notice is there is a fence. It still needs a little bit of reinforcements, like here where it's kind of sagging. Around the corners, it was hard to get it to go tight. Other than a few of those spots, it's, I think, going to be sufficient to the task we have for it, which is to keep deer out. And my parents used to have an electric fence here. They had that working for a few years, and because of that, the deer got trained to not go into this space. And last year, the electric fence wasn't operational at all, but deer never went into this space. But I do think that luck will run out in terms of the deer permanently staying away. Well, hello, Mr. Robin, or Mrs. Robin. I figured eventually our luck would run out with the deer being conditioned and programmed from previous years that there's an electric fence here. Some generation of deer comes along and they've never experienced electric fence, and they're like, this looks like a great place to eat. So we really did need to fence it again, and so that's what we've done here. It is not a super duper 20-year durable fence. I'm hoping we'll get 5 years out of this. We will see. We don't get a lot of snow here, and snow is what damages these the most, I think, based on the research I've done. We'll see. It's what we could afford this year and what we could set up in time to get things planted. We didn't have a lot of time or funds to do a huge fencing project. So it is what it is, and I think it'll be good enough for now. And Damien engineered all these clips for getting in and out and for locking it up, so I'm just going to open it up and take you inside. Okay, so the door is open. The door, if you can call this the door. The flap is open. This is one of the openings. The opening is wide enough to bring in a wheelbarrow. Let's just kind of go through, not row by row, but section by section. This section here is going to be sunflowers, and I've started them by seed indoors. And then zinnias are going to be in here. This is a calendula from last year, several calendula plants. Those are annuals, but they reseed, and I will pull that out when I go to plant the zinnias. These are milkweed, and we have them for their beauty, but also for the monarch butterflies. Oh, I Spy. It's like an I Spy game. I Spy 4. Yay. Okay, so we've got this one. We've got that one. And we've got this one that's just like eaten all through the... Oh, here. Got this one that's eaten all through the foliage. That's available on that stalk. You're going to have to go down a little bit, buddy. And that one. So the patch is doing pretty good for supporting the larva. That's all I see. I have some things planned for this front corner. I'd have to check my notes. Perhaps bachelor buttons. I think I'm going to do holy basil in here. This comfrey is going to come out and move to a different place. But basically along here is we're going to have this long row, double row of sunflowers. That robin just wants to be heard, and I want to give it some attention. Okay, so that's what's in this area. Right in here will be a path, I believe. So I'll just walk it now back to this eastern edge. No, western edge. This is the western edge. Okay, so then in this section here is various vegetables, and they're going to be in rows, and we already have a row started there with onions that my mom has planted today. And that's I had marked for her onions to go here, and then this says path, but yeah, this actually will be a path right here. And then there'll be I think four rows of different vegetables here, and I haven't got them all staked out yet because I haven't planted them yet. So that will be vegetables in there. And I can't recall off the top of my head what all we've got planned for here, but certainly I'll have some tomatoes. There will be cukes on frames or on cages to go vertically. What else? I have to put some carrots in. My mom likes green beans. I like green beans too. So that'll be a lot. That'll be a lot for this space. I might have to find some other spaces for some of those things. So along here, this is a fairly wide space, but I will be doing, and here's the idea. We'll see how successful it is. I want to keep this section open. You know, we just need access here, but starting at this, I'm going to say rod, but I feel like it's not a rod. Starting at this stake, that metal stake, and going to the other one, the next one. I want to do morning glories, and they will then be able to use this to vine up, and I want calendula at the base. That will significantly cut back on the pathway here so that the path will just be in this area. Calendula, I use that for a medicinal herb. So this is why when I talk about like creating, you know, medicinal herb space in the front there, it's fluid and it's not, everything's not set in a particular space. It's kind of also based on the aesthetic. And I definitely like calendula in the garden, also because it is not a perennial. It's easy enough to uproot and get out of the space if you decide you don't want it there. I think that'll be a good addition at this end of the western edge of the garden. This fence here is set up for sweet peas. So we've planted sweet peas, I can't remember on which side. Oh, is this one germinating? Let's see. Oh, I think that's a sweet pea germinating right there. See if you can, I don't know if it'll focus, but I believe it's starting to germinate. Oh, wonderful. So those are going to be sweet peas. And here we have our garlic. We have attempted to plant enough garlic for our 2 households and enough to seed our garlic for next year. So I did calculations for all of that last fall when we went to plant the garlic. We'll see if the yield will be sufficient for our household needs for a year and for seeding for next year. That's what the goal is, to be self-sufficient in garlic, which is a doable thing. So many other crops require preservation and require a lot of effort to save them and to keep them, and garlic does not. And it produces well here, and so this is my only self-sufficiency goal right now, is garlic. So this is our garlic. This will be a path here. Mom put onions in here today. This is going to be a little path, and connecting to this area. We can't do anything around here because we have this infrastructure. You know, we've got the hose and those cement blocks, and this is the other doorway, other access point into the garden. I'm not sure how much of this like setup, you know, I'll keep for future years. Everything is evolving, right? But definitely this is where our water source comes into the garden, and we have an elderberry here, and we love our elderberry, so we need to keep some space here for those things. But it, you know, there's a lot of space then that doesn't get used for growing because we have to be able to manage around this and to be able to use that. So I have a little section planned here to put plants in there. I think I'm going to do lettuces. Walking down this is the eastern side. This will be path here. And I'm going to put marigolds along the fence here. You saw all the marigolds earlier. This is where they are going to go. Next to the garlic, I just planted, we have spinach. Let's see, we've got kale, spinach, and arugula. That got planted in here. So this is an area of the garden that vexes me a little bit because we have trees that have been here for a while. It's still TBD, or to be determined, whether they're going to stay here. This is a hawthorn. Hawthorns are cool trees for a lot of reasons, but I'm not sure that this is the place for it. And then there's a tree there, and I don't know what it is. And this section here of grass, which is in the fenced in area because it just was still easiest to fence in this whole area instead of jogging it over and excluding that. Eventually that might be tilled up soil and planting, putting things there, but I have to decide what we're doing with these trees, and I'm not sure yet. We have some things planted here. So I have some bush peas, and Mom actually transplanted some chard. Chard here is a perennial, basically. So we moved some chard here. Oh, Mom's got some, I think, more onions there, shallots there. We have vining peas here. I just planted them yesterday against that fencing material. I don't know what that is. I found it in the woods behind our shed. Was some cast off from some project. So I feel like I'm just going to back up here and talk about this space. This is a strange kind of setup. Not sure how this will evolve through the years. We also have this elderberry here. So there's two elderberry, but both of our households use elderberry. We make elderberry syrup and tincture out of it, and it's a great plant to have for medicinal purposes. So we definitely want to keep the elderberry here. But this is not like a garden that was conceived and planted out in a typical kind of like got these rows here, then this row. So this is just the way it has evolved to this point, and we'll see how it grows and changes throughout the seasons. But this is how it is shaping up for this season. Very excited to get things in here, but of course it's still early. It's we're only at the end of April right now, so I can't do too much in here. And now I'm going to show you the largest and latest infrastructure project in the garden, which is our raspberry trellises that my dad and I built just this week. And they take up a lot of garden real estate. The raspberries take up a lot of space. My parents planted these raspberries years ago, and raspberries can become very prolific in areas, and they, you know, send out their runners and send up new canes. So they can establish themselves really well. And this is the area that they established themselves in. And I just kind of went with it. I was like, here they are, let's let them be here. But we had to, in that process of building these trellises, we had to remove some other things because there was some little boxwood shrubs at the end of this frame here. And I wanted to actually have the raspberries run all the way down. My parents, through the years in this garden space, they have put in some shrubs and trees to fill in the space and to make it less intense gardening work for them. Like, they want to grow some things and tend some things, but they don't want to have a full garden space where, you know, it's just soil that's waiting there that needs to be planted and tended and harvested. They wanted to simplify their gardening and yard work. So they planted these trees and some shrubs in here to basically landscape it, right? But I really want garden space, especially since there are, well, 2 of us definitely working in this space, up to 4 at some times in terms of helping with the infrastructure building. My husband built the fence. My dad helped build the trellis frame, and he's up for helping build other things. So we have lots of co-laborers in the garden, and so we can certainly plant out more things and we can manage it. In moving here and starting to manage the garden space, I am envisioning us planting more things here, more vegetables, more herbs, more plants that need to be managed and tended than what my parents were doing in previous years, as they were kind of scaling back their investments into this part of the yard. So I plan to grow more things and extend things, and so we'll see how that plays out in this particular fenced-in garden space. But for now, this is how it is. And gardens are spaces that are always evolving, right? Well, at least for me, they've always been evolving spaces. Try things, and you learn things, and you learn what you like and what you don't like, and what grows well there and what doesn't, and yeah, what are satisfying things to grow and what are just onerous or no longer want to do. So anyways, that's the kind of stage that we are in with this garden, is figuring things out and experimenting, and also just enjoying our labors together in this space, enjoying being together, working together. It's a real treat. Okay, so I'm going to show you these raspberry trellises now. I researched this design in perhaps Pinterest, but YouTube, watched a YouTube video on building a frame like this, which doesn't take up too many materials, and certainly my dad made quick work of sawing up larger pieces of wood into these narrower, kind of square shaped stakes. So we have 4 of them along the length here, and then the raspberries are in them, and these wires will keep the raspberries like behind, the canes behind, so it just keeps everything controlled so that we're not having canes falling over on us, and like that we're like basically having to move through a jungle of raspberries, which is what it has gotten to be in here. So this area, we had some shrubs that we had dug out by our friend, and I transplanted these canes over here. We'll see how they do. They're looking pretty good right now, and we're getting more rain this weekend, so I'm hoping they'll get established. So that is 1 row, and then we have a 2nd row here with roughly the same amount of canes in it. So that's our raspberries, and they are a significant portion of this fenced-in garden space for sure. And then here we are over on the nicest grass in the entire yard. Don't know what it is about this space, but it produces the lushest grass that we have on the property. Which feels ironic because we're not over here like enjoying it. Like I said earlier, this may come out. I just really don't know what to do about these trees. They're still in their kind of probationary period with me as I'm assessing how I want to use this space and how the trees fit into that or don't. It feels like some of this is wasted space, But of course, you know, this is going to leaf out. It's a little tree, so, you know, there's just shade under there. Although we found that the comfrey does really well under there, and I'm going to move another comfrey plant to underneath this elderberry. So that is the tour of the garden. And these wooden boards with markings on them are just as I am building out the garden to kind of mark things for other people that walk in here, mostly Mom, just to say, this is where I'm envisioning a path, you know, so let's keep walking here, or this is where I'm envisioning doing plants, so we'll try not to walk in there too much right now, although I'll have to dig it all up before planting in there. So that is the tour of this garden space, which you can see why I'm not sure what to call it. Let's call it the fenced garden, I guess. This is the fenced garden space. I am very excited to be working out here this spring and summer, and to see how things grow, and to have a space that is both functional in terms of growing some food that we like to eat, and beautiful. That's really important to me, that it is also beautiful. A garden this size will not produce preservation quantities of things except for the garlic and actually raspberries. We will be able to freeze raspberries, but we also like to just eat a lot in this during the summer or the growing season. Those raspberry canes will produce in the fall. Love experimenting with it and getting my hands dirty and growing food and making beautiful spaces. So that's what we're all about here. That's what we're doing. And just to be able to walk in and cut stuff that you can use in your meals that day and for snacking, and adding food to the summer table and the fall table. That's the vision for this space. Okay, so I'll close up the garden now. I am excited about keeping you updated on the garden's progress and through this growing season, and even in seasons to come, and to see how the space evolves and changes, and all the different plants that I will be growing here. Thanks for watching.